Live from New Delhi, you're watching DD India News Hour, India's voice to the world. I'm Preeti Kaur. Coming up in the next 1 hour, Prime Minister Narendra Modi meets Croatian counterpart Andrej Plenković in Zagreb. Two leaders hold delegation-level talks with focus on ways to boost linkages of commerce and culture. 4 MOUs exchanged between the two sides. Prime Minister Modi concludes his 3-nation visit to Cyprus, Canada and Croatia. Successful meetings with global leaders on the sidelines of the G7 summit. Receives highest civilian honour of Cyprus is the highlight of the trip. Israel and Iran exchange barrage of missiles amid reports of US moving military assets in West Asia. Trump says Iran's got a lot of trouble and wants to negotiate. Khamenei rejects Trump's ultimatum to surrender. Russian President Putin says ready for substantive talks with Ukraine on principles of peaceful settlement. On possibility of meeting Trump, Putin says meeting with him should be well prepared, bring positive results. Hurricane Erick nears Mexico as a powerful Category 3 storm. Forecasters warn of intense rainfall, bringing life-threatening flooding and mudslides. President Sheinbaum urges caution and evacuation from low-lying areas or near the rivers. Prime Minister Narendra Modi is en route to India after concluding his 3-nation visit to Cyprus, Canada and Croatia, marking a significant milestone in the bilateral relations between the three countries. Prime Minister Modi's first stop was Cyprus, followed by Canada, where he attended the G7 summit, and then Croatia, making it the first visit by an Indian Prime Minister to the European nation. In a significant milestone in India's foreign policy, Prime Minister Narendra Modi has become the first Indian leader to visit Croatia. The visit marks a pivotal advancement in India's outreach to Central Europe, highlighted by key diplomatic engagements, strategic partnerships and meaningful gestures aimed at strengthening the bilateral cooperation. We get you a detailed report.
In a historic first, Prime Minister Narendra Modi arrived in Croatia, scripting a new chapter in India's diplomatic outreach to Europe. Meeting his counterpart, Prime Minister Andrej Plenković in Zagreb, the two leaders underscored their shared democratic values and mutual aspiration for stronger bilateral ties. Together, they unveiled an ambitious roadmap for cooperation, pledging to elevate India-Croatia relations to new heights. From defense and semiconductors to connectivity and cultural exchange, the discussions covered a broad spectrum. 4 key MOUs were signed, spanning agriculture, science and technology, culture and the renewal of a Hindi chair.
हमने द्विपक्षीय व्यापार को बढ़ाने और विश्वसनीय सप्लाई चेन तैयार करने के लिए कई क्षेत्रों में सहयोग बढ़ाने का निर्णय लिया है। हम फार्मा, एग्रीकल्चर, इंफॉर्मेशन टेक्नोलॉजी, क्लीन टेक्नोलॉजी, डिजिटल टेक्नोलॉजी, रिन्यूएबल एनर्जी, सेमीकंडक्टर ऐसे कई महत्वपूर्ण विषयों में सहयोग को बढ़ावा देंगे। शिप बिल्डिंग और साइबर सिक्योरिटी में सहयोग बढ़ाया जाएगा। हमने अपने एकेडमिक इंस्टीट्यूशंस और सेंटर्स के बीच जॉइंट रिसर्च और कोलैबोरेशन पर बल दिया है। भारत अपने स्पेस अनुभव को क्रोएशिया के साथ साझा करेगा।
Prime Minister Modi expressed deep appreciation for Croatia's steadfast support in India's fight against cross-border terrorism. In turn, Prime Minister Plenković conveyed condolences over the tragic Pahalgam attack.
हम सहमत हैं कि आतंकवाद मानवता का दुश्मन है, लोकतंत्र में विश्वास रखने वाली शक्तियों का विरोधी है। 22 अप्रैल को भारत में हुए आतंकी हमले पर संवेदनाओं के लिए हम प्रधानमंत्री जी और क्रोएशिया सरकार के हार्दिक आभारी हैं। ऐसे कठिन समय में हमारे मित्र देशों का साथ हमारे लिए बहुत मूल्यवान था। हम दोनों सहमत हैं कि आज के वैश्विक वातावरण में भारत और यूरोप की साझेदारी बहुत महत्व रखती है।
We have also talked about Indian efforts to conclude the free trade agreement with the European Union, which Croatia supports. We believe that this negotiations will finalize as soon as possible, negotiations about free trade agreement, because that will strengthen our cooperation and it will facilitate easier trade between Croatia and India.
Reaffirming their commitment to democratic values and global peace, PM Modi also met Croatian President Zoran Milanovic, laying the foundation for a renewed partnership. In a poignant moment, Prime Minister Plenković showed Prime Minister Modi the very site where a military rocket struck the presidential palace in 1991, an event that marked Croatia's secession from Yugoslavia. Honoring the spirit of freedom, the two leaders paid tribute at the monument to the homeland, a symbol of Croatia's resilience and unity. The visit also included a stroll through the heart of Zagreb, where Prime Ministers Modi and Plenković explored the city's rich cultural heritage and vibrant streets. More than just a diplomatic visit, Prime Minister Modi's presence in Croatia signals a deeper economic and strategic embrace between India and Europe. With Jessica Taneja, Bureau Report, DD India.
Let's get to updates on Ahmedabad plane crash now. 6 days after the unfortunate incident, authorities continue to work round the clock to ensure that DNA samples could be matched and the remains handed over to the grieving families as quickly as possible. So far, tests have verified the identity of 206 victims who died on June 12th and the mortal remains of the 169 victims who were handed over to their families. Remaining families are also being contacted and mortal remains will be handed over soon. Testing is being done by teams from the FSL and National Forensic Sciences University. The Gujarat government is closely coordinating with the civil hospital to ensure smooth communication between officials and families of the victims. India commissioned its first anti-submarine warcraft, shallow water craft, INS Arnala, at the Naval Dockyard in Visakhapatnam. The ceremony was presided over by Chief of Defence Staff General Anil Chauhan and attended by top naval officials. Built under Atmanirbhar Bharat initiative, INS Arnala is designed for surveillance, search and rescue missions and coastal defence. With advanced weapons and sensors, this 77.6 meters warship marks a major boost to India's naval strength, reinforcing its position in the strategically vital Indian Ocean region. With over 80% indigenous content, these ships reflect India's growing self-reliance in shipbuilding and defence technology. The induction of INS Arnala, the first of 16 indigenous ASW SWC ships, marks a pivotal moment for the Indian Navy. In a powerful and forward-looking session hosted by the International Advertising Association India chapter, Chairman of Prasar Bharati Navneet Kumar Sehgal outlined an ambitious vision for the future of India's public broadcaster. At an event titled Prasar Bharati, Unlocking the Potential, the focus was firmly on the evolving role of public broadcasting in a fast-changing media landscape. Speaking on the challenges and opportunities ahead, Prasar Bharati Chairman Sehgal said that the broadcaster must stay connected with the public, entertaining and engaging them while ensuring the delivery of factual and reliable information. Stressing on the importance of modernization, Sehgal reaffirmed Prasar Bharati's commitment to its core values, highlighting its distinct role in maintaining credibility in today's noisy and cluttered media space.
I have put all of our stuff, your OTT, entertainment, TV, radio, all into this. I tell my people that maybe another 10-15 years you may not see TV. All of our functions are on smartphone. Then get and improve your content. So that's what now we are working on, to get the better content how do we engage the young minds. And we are now going to put a section of games also in this.
India's Commerce and Industry Minister Piyush Goyal on Wednesday highlighted the stability and predictability that the recently concluded India-UK Free Trade Agreement brings for businesses in both the countries. During a session at the India Global Forum UK-India Week titled Agreement to Action in the UK-India FTA in London, the minister shared his optimism around the good marriage agreed between both the countries, which will lead to bilateral trade doubling in 5 years. The minister also highlighted the tremendous opportunities that the India growth story offers to the UK and how businesses on both the sides can leverage complementary strength for shared growth.
Every country in the world has some competitive advantages over the other. There would be areas in which UK would be very strong and can add huge value to the India growth story. And there will be many sectors where India can add value to the UK growth story. We have to bring these complementarities to work together, to engage with each other. We've assessed the entire trade and business climate in both countries. There's hardly anything on which we really compete. We actually complement each other.
We now get to weather updates from around the globe. The Indian Met Department issued a yellow alert for Delhi NCR, predicting light to moderate rains, thunderstorms, lightning and windy conditions with 50 to 60 kilometers per hour speed, especially during the night till Thursday. Similar weather conditions will also prevail in nearby cities. The minimum temperature in Delhi is expected to settle at 27 degrees Celsius, while the maximum temperature is likely to reach 33 degrees Celsius, while monsoon is likely to arrive in parts of Himachal Pradesh in the next 2 to 3 days. The southwest monsoon covered entire Jharkhand on Wednesday, bringing widespread rainfall that is likely to continue across the state till 20th of June, while an orange alert has been issued in Bihar. Further, a red alert was issued in Assam and orange alert has been issued in bordering states in northeast India, warning of moderate to heavy rainfall and thunderstorms. As rains continue to lash parts of Kerala, normal life is disrupted in many parts, especially in central and northern regions of the state, with river levels rising, homes getting inundated and hundreds being shifted to relief camps. As the monsoon intensifies across Gujarat, parts of the state are dealing with more than just a change in weather. The Indian Met Department has issued an orange alert for Surat, Valsad and Bharuch, warning of heavy to very heavy rainfall in the coming days. Emergency teams have been deployed in the worst hit districts and authorities have urged residents to stay indoors during the intense spell of rain. Hurricane Erick has intensified into a Category 3 storm and continues to gain strength off the Pacific coast of Mexico. Forecasters warn that the system is undergoing rapid intensification and is expected to become a major hurricane later today. Hurricane is expected to bring potentially destructive winds and life-threatening flash floods to portions of southern Mexico late on Wednesday and Thursday. The hurricane is expected to strengthen before making landfall, bringing with it storm surges, coastal flooding and destructive waves. Forecasters predict of intense rainfall across the Mexican states of Oaxaca and Guerrero, bringing life-threatening flooding and mudslides. From carbon pollution to sea level rise to global heating, the pace and level of key climate change indicators are all in uncharted territory. More than 60 top scientists have warned. Greenhouse gas emissions from burning fossil fuels and deforestation hit a new high in 2024 and averaged over the last decade. Earth's surface temperature last year breached 1.5 degrees Celsius for the first time. The hard cap on warming, to which nearly 200 nations agreed, was well below the 2 degrees, commonly interpreted to mean 1.7 degrees to 1.8 degrees. After creeping up on average well under 2 millimeters per year from 1901 to 2018, global oceans have risen 4.3 millimeters annually since 2019. You're watching DD India News Hour. We're heading for a short break, but after the break, amid fears of a soaring conflict in the Middle East, European ministers to hold nuclear talks with Iran on Friday in Geneva. Protesters carry out a no war on Iran demonstration outside the White House, denouncing any potential US involvement in Israeli strikes on Iran.
Geopolitics and trade deals. Economic challenges amid development. Hard work and the path to prosperity. It's the economy, always. Between walkers, money is what money does and says. Supply creates its own demand. Between the bulls pulls and bears tears. When supply chains globalization and India rises to the podium. We'll get you centered with the Economic Brief at 8 p.m. every Thursday on DD India.
Welcome back after the break. You're watching DD India News Hour. Let's continue getting you more updates. Israel has said that it had struck uranium enrichment sites after the two countries launched another barrage of missiles at each other overnight as the conflict enters the 7th day. Israel said that it destroyed Iran's internal security headquarters in Tehran as more explosions are reported in the Iranian city of Karaj and the nearby Payam airport. Israel said it registered Iran's missile manufacturing capabilities and also carried out a series of strikes targeting over 20 military sites in Tehran. The Israeli military assesses that it has significantly degraded Iran's ability to fire large barrages of missiles towards Israel. Meanwhile, Iran has said it fired medium-range ballistic missiles towards Israel. Tehran has imposed nationwide temporary restrictions on internet access across the country. The Ministry of Information and Communications Technology cited security concerns. As the Israel-Iran conflict enters its 7th day, President Trump held a Situation Room meeting on Wednesday afternoon to discuss US options. While saying earlier that his patience has already run out with Tehran, Trump indicated that he has not yet made a final decision on whether the US would get involved. Trump said that he is still weighing his options on the US military intervention in the escalating hostilities.
We'll see what happens. We've got a ways to go. They should have made the deal. I had a great deal for them. They should have made that deal. 60 days we talked about it, and in the end they decided not to do it, and now they wish they did it. And they want to meet, but it's a little late to meet, but they want to meet, and they want to come to the White House. They'll even come to the White House. So we'll see. I may do that.
Meanwhile, the foreign ministers of Germany, France and Britain plan to hold nuclear talks with their Iranian counterpart on Friday in Geneva. Now, according to the sources, the ministers will first meet with the European Union's top diplomat Kaja Kallas in Germany's permanent mission in Geneva before holding a joint meeting with the Iranian foreign minister. Now, according to the sources, talks are to be followed by a structured dialogue at the expert level. German Chancellor Friedrich Merz has spoken out in support of Israel's attack, with his foreign minister appealing to Iran's leaders to work towards a solution that would involve assurance over its nuclear program. Protesters gathered outside the White House denouncing Israeli strikes on Iran and any potential US involvement in the conflict during a no war on Iran demonstration. Waving Palestinian and Iranian flags, dozens of demonstrators chanted slogans and held placards demanding an end to the US and Israeli military actions in the Middle East. Tensions flared when a few counter-protesters waved Israeli flags, prompting police to form a line as pro-Israeli groups faced off near the White House fence. All right, our correspondent Akshay Dongre is joining us from New Delhi to get us more. Akshay, Israel and Iran continue to exchange a barrage of missiles, and also we've told our viewers that US is moving military assets in West Asia. What do you make of the situation? How grave is it?
Well, the situation remains grave. As far as the conflict is concerned, it remains like a tinderbox, and it only needs a match to make this entire situation go out of control. Now, the only good thing that has come so far is that Donald Trump has rethought about his decision to enter the war. Now, the reason why we are saying this is also because earlier the signs were coming in that US is almost ready, or rather is just about to enter the Iran war. If that happens, it can rather unify a lot of Iran's allies against US involvement. And Iran is no Iraq. It's a larger country. It has a stronger military. It has a stronger presence in the region, and the region could have seen a lot of devastation if these two large countries would have collided as far as the Middle East or West Asia is concerned. Plus, that also would have seen involvement of other players like Russia and China, if not directly, then indirectly. So it would have brought the world much closer to a much larger conflict that would have involved nuclear powers, or some of the world's largest economies fighting, and that would have been really bad for the global economy as well, especially for the global south, which has mostly developing countries that require a peaceful and stable environment to grow out of their own problems. So it would have been a lot of devastation, not directly through the war, but also through the economic ramifications that would have followed. So the situation still remains grim, but right now Donald Trump is saying that he made a deal, but they did not follow the deal. Now they want to meet in the White House, so they are still in the process of introspecting the entire thing. Also, the second thing would be that there was a war plan that was almost ready, but Donald Trump apparently did not sign the final orders. So that has saved the entire situation from going completely haywire. Now, also yesterday we have seen ballistic missiles. Now, these are intermediate range ballistic missiles that Iran had fired. One of them was Sejil, which has a range of about 2,000 to 2,500 kilometers, payload capacity of 500 to 1,000 kilograms, and it can also carry conventional but nuclear warheads as well. So the firing of an IRBM would have taken this conflict to another level, which would have prompted Israel to do the same. Then it would have been a chance of the ICBMs, that are the intercontinental ballistic missiles, which have a much larger speed and much larger payload. So as the world was moving toward a much more dangerous weapons, finally some sense prevailed, and at least US has stopped its own troops from getting inside the war, at least at this moment. But a situation remains grim, and we'll have to follow for the next days to see how it goes. But the war hysteria that we saw yesterday, at least from the US side, is lower today.
All right, so the situation in West Asia is grim, Akshay, but then how is Iran placed? Because Donald Trump says that Iran's got a lot of trouble and also wants to negotiate, but at the same time, Iran's Supreme Leader Khamenei has rejected Trump's ultimatum to surrender. Put all this together, how is Iran placed at the moment?
Well, Iran has allies. Iran is a powerful country there. Iran has support of Russia directly. Iran has support of China too. If not that directly, then indirectly. But when it comes to Iran, it is circled. One side you have Israel, the other side you have Pakistan. And even though on the world stage, Pakistan may make these claims that they are with Iran, or they are going to fight it out with the Muslim Brotherhood that Pakistan keeps on talking about. But the fact is, Pakistan is much more compromised than we think. A war is going on, and the general of the Pakistani armed forces, Asim Munir, meets the US president, who is actively involved in the entire conflict. He has lunch with him, nominates him for Nobel Peace Prize. So certainly it's more than what we are seeing on the what meets the eye. It's much more going on behind, and the US is making sure that all the countries that are surrounding Iran are in some manner supporting US operations, or at least Israeli operation, before just till the time US gets involved. So the situation remains grim for Iran too.
All right, Akshay, we'll leave it here. Thank you so much for joining in with those details. In other news, the German Federal Foreign Ministry organized the first flight to evacuate German citizens and their close family members from Israel on Wednesday. The flight allowed 171 people to leave the region. The employees of the German embassy in Amman were at the Allenby crossing and at Amman airport to support the Germans there. Germans still in Israel who are registered on the crisis preparedness list will be informed about further flights in the near future. A second flight is announced for Thursday, and the ministry said it will also constantly be concerned with the situation of the German nationals in Iran. Let's get to updates on Russia-Ukraine conflict now. Russian President Vladimir Putin on Thursday said that he is ready to meet Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky, but only if it is during a final phase of negotiations. During a roundtable discussion with editors from international news agencies on Wednesday, Putin said Russia wants to end the conflict in Ukraine as soon as possible through peaceful means. The Russian president said that Moscow remains open to substantive talks aimed at settling the conflict in Ukraine. However, the Putin administration questioned Zelensky's legitimacy as a representative of Ukraine.
I am ready to meet everyone, including Zelensky. I am even ready to meet with him, but only if it is some kind of final phase, so as not to endlessly sit and divide something, but to put a point to it. However, the signature must belong to legitimate authorities.
Talking about the latest situation on the front, the Russian president said that his troops had the strategic advantage in Ukraine and were constantly pushing forward on the battlefield.
Our troops are advancing along the entire line of contact. Every day, more or less, but every day they go forward. And further advancement forward, even if Tauruses will be used, is inevitable.
The Russian president told the international community that he is open to talking to German Chancellor Friedrich Merz if Merz initiates a conversation. Putin, however, said that he does not view Germany as neutral when it comes to Russia-Ukraine conflict. He further said that Germany sending long-range Taurus missiles to Ukraine would completely ruin bilateral relations. Putin stated that German assistance has no impact on the course of the fighting in Ukraine. Russia has objected to Germany's arms deliveries to Ukraine and has issued strong warnings. German-Russian relations are at an all-time low. Merz in particular has faced criticism in Moscow for taking a confrontational stance against Russia. You're watching DD India News. We're heading for a short break, but after the break, calling the deal struck between Cook Islands and China a deficit of trust, New Zealand pauses payments to Cook Islands. US President Donald Trump's administration orders resumption of student visa appointments with comprehensive and thorough vetting. Brazil declares commercial poultry bird flu free. No new outbreaks in 28 days, says the Agriculture Ministry.
Mesmerize you with majestic nature, rich heritage and colorful culture.
Hello. Johar. It fits perfectly.
Thank you.
Full workout ho gaya.
Ready?
Postcards from Jharkhand on National Geographic.
Singapore.
Welcome back after the break. You're watching DD India News Hour. A quick relook at the top stories now. Prime Minister Narendra Modi meets Croatian counterpart Andrej Plenković in Zagreb. Two leaders hold delegation-level talks with focus on ways to boost linkages of commerce and culture. 4 MOUs exchanged between the two sides. Prime Minister Modi concludes his 3-nation visit to Cyprus, Canada and Croatia. Successful meetings with global leaders on sidelines of G7 summit. Receiving highest civilian order of Cyprus is the highlight of the trip. Israel and Iran exchange barrage of missiles and report of US moving military assets in West Asia. Trump says Iran's got a lot of trouble and wants to negotiate. Khamenei rejects Trump's ultimatum to surrender. Russian President Putin says ready for substantive talks with Ukraine on principles of peaceful settlement. On possibility of meeting Trump, Putin says meeting with him should be well prepared and bring positive results. Hurricane Erick nears Mexico as a powerful Category 3 storm. Forecasters warn of intense rainfall, bringing life-threatening flooding and mudslides. President Xi Jinping urges caution and evacuation from low-lying areas or near rivers. New Zealand's government halted aid to close partner, the Cook Islands, on Thursday because of a row over agreements the Pacific Island nations struck with China. New Zealand paused the payments and would not resume them until the Cook Islands took concrete steps to restore trust, a spokesman for Foreign Minister Winston Peters said in a statement. The self-governing Cook Islands caught New Zealand off guard in February when it signed a comprehensive strategic partnership agreement with China covering deep-sea mining, regional cooperation and economic issues. New Zealand has paused a planned $11 million development assistance payment for the next financial year. In the United States, an appeals court reviews whether it can limit President Trump's power to send the National Guard and Marines there during protests and unrest. About 700 Marines and roughly 4,000 National Guard troops have been called up and deployed to Los Angeles. Democratic California Governor Gavin Newsom was against the move, also protested against the president's immigration raids. Lawyers for the Department of Justice have argued that Trump's decision to deploy troops was necessary in order to protect federal property and personnel from mob violence in the city. While the administration argues that the law, specifically Section 12406 of Title 10, gives the president sole discretion to determine whether a rebellion or danger of a rebellion requires a military response, and that neither the courts nor a state governor can second-guess that determination. The U.S. Supreme Court upheld a Republican-backed ban in Tennessee on gender-affirming medical care for transgender minors. The court, in a 6-3 ruling, decided that the ban does not violate the U.S. Constitution's 14th Amendment promise of equal protection, as challengers to the law had argued. A ruling affirmed a lower court's decision that backed Tennessee's law, which bars medical treatments such as puberty blockers and hormones for people under the age of 18 experiencing gender dysphoria. The Supreme Court's 3 liberal justices dissented it. The Justice Department under Democratic former President Joe Biden's administration had challenged the law. Trump's administration told the Supreme Court in February that Tennessee's ban was not unlawful, reversing the government's position. U.S. President Donald Trump's administration ordered the resumption of student visa appointments, but will significantly tighten its social media vetting in a bid to identify any applicants who may be hostile towards the United States. U.S. consular officers are now required to conduct a comprehensive and thorough vetting of all the student and exchange visitor applicants to identify those who bear hostile attitudes towards the citizens, culture, government, institutions, or founding principles. On May 27th, the Trump administration ordered its missions abroad to stop scheduling new appointments for students and exchange visitor visa applicants, saying the State Department was set to expand social media vetting of foreign students. U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio had said updated guidance would be released once a review was completed. A federal judge struck down a rule adopted by the administration of former President Joe Biden that strengthened privacy protection for women seeking abortions and patients who receive gender transition treatments. U.S. District Judge Matthew Coxmel in Amarillo, Texas said that the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services exceeded its powers and unlawfully limited the ability of the states to enforce their public health laws when it adopted the rule last year. The rule prohibits healthcare providers and insurers from giving information about illegal abortion to state law enforcement authorities who are seeking to punish someone in connection with that abortion. The Biden administration issued the rule as part of its pledge to support access to reproductive health care after the conservative majority U.S. Supreme Court in 2022 overturned the 1973 Roe v. Wade ruling that made access to abortion a constitutional right nationwide. The U.S. Food and Drug Administration on Wednesday approved Gilead Sciences' twice-yearly infection to prevent HIV. Now, this move was hailed as a major breakthrough in the fight against the sexually transmitted virus. Drugs to prevent HIV transmission, known as pre-exposure prophylaxis or PrEP, have existed for more than a decade now. But because they typically require taking a daily pill, they are yet to make a significant dent in global infections. Lenacapavir, marketed under the brand Yestogo, has been shown to reduce the risk of HIV transmission by more than 99.9% in adults and adolescents, making it functionally akin to a powerful vaccine. The company conducted 2 large clinical trials, and the side effects included injection site reactions, headache, and nausea. Activists are using Gilead to drastically cut the price to help end the HIV pandemic. Rwanda and Democratic Republic of Congo technical teams initiated a draft peace agreement that is expected to be signed next week. The two countries are aiming for an end to fighting in eastern Congo. The provisional agreement, announced in a joint statement, could make a breakthrough in talks held by President Donald Trump's administration to end the fighting in eastern Congo and bring billions of dollars of Western investment to the region, which is rich in minerals including tantalum, gold, cobalt, copper, and lithium. The provisional agreement, reached after 3 days of talks, addresses territorial integrity and a prohibition of the hostilities and the disengagement, disarmament, and conditional integration of non-state armed groups. The agreement also includes provisions on establishment of a joint security mechanism that incorporates a proposal discussed by the parties last year under Angolan mediation. Fighting in eastern Congo escalated this year as Rwanda-backed M23 rebels staged an advance that saw it seize the region's 2 largest cities, raising fears of a wider conflict. Congo says Rwanda is supporting M23 by sending troops and arms. The ministerial signing of the agreement is scheduled for June 27th. Grief and outrage spread across Mexico as citizens mourn the death of a second female mayor killed. Martha Laura Mendoza, mayor of Tepalcatepec in the western state of Mexico, was shot dead along with her husband, authorities confirmed. Just 2 days earlier, another female mayor was gunned down in her office in southern Mexico, highlighting the growing threats faced by public servants, especially in regions plagued by organized crime. Memorial services were held for both women as people called for justice and greater protection for elected leaders across the country. At least 13 suspected criminals were killed following a clash with local police in the central state of Zacatecas. Now, the confrontation took place in the municipality of Villanueva, where state security forces were conducting an operation when they were attacked. No law enforcement officers were reportedly injured or killed. Zacatecas has been plagued by escalating violence in recent years, largely due to ongoing conflicts between rival criminal groups and security forces. Brazil, world's largest poultry exporter, has declared itself free from bird flu virus on commercial flocks after observing a 28-day period without any commercial farm outbreaks, the Brazilian Ministry of Agriculture confirmed on Wednesday. The countdown for reclaiming the country's disease-free status began on May 22nd, following the complete disinfection of the farm, where Brazil's only commercial outbreak was detected last month in the state of Rio Grande do Sul. Brazil is working to restore its poultry export trade after recent bird flu outbreaks and countries like China to suspend the imports. The ban, enforced under current trade protocols, affects Brazil's poultry industry, which accounts for 39% of global chicken exports. You're watching DD India News. We're heading for a short break. Stay with us.
Geopolitics and trade deals. Economic challenges amid development. Hard work and the path to prosperity. It's the economy, always. Between walkers, money is what money does and says. Supply creates its own demand. Between the bulls pulls and bears tears. When supply chains globalization and India rises to the podium. We'll get you centered with the Economic Brief at 8 p.m. every Thursday on DD India.
Welcome back after the break. You're watching DD India News. Let's get you updates from the world of business now. India's Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman on Wednesday interacted with founders, CEOs and senior leaders of various fintech companies during the Digital Payments Awards 2025 in New Delhi. She hailed India's extraordinary achievements in digital payments and financial technology, noting that the country is now leading the world in real-time digital transactions. She stressed that the pace of innovation we are witnessing in India is a dream for many developed nations. Minister Sitharaman emphasized that India's fintech sector is not only progressing rapidly within its own ecosystem, but is also redefining global paradigms. She also assured that the government will continue to support the fintech industry. Minister of State for Finance Pankaj Chaudhary and Secretary DFS M. Nagaraju were also present. The US Central Bank left interest rates unchanged as expected, and policymakers signaled borrowing costs are still likely to fall in 2025. Fed maintained expectations for 2 cuts this year. Federal Reserve Chair Jerome Powell said that he expects meaningful inflation ahead as consumers pay more for goods due to the Trump administration's planned import tariffs. Powell said in a press conference after the end of a 2-day US Central Bank meeting, where policymakers slowed their overall outlook for rate cuts in response to a more challenging outlook of weaker economic growth, rising joblessness and faster price increase.
Despite elevated uncertainty, the economy is in a solid position. The unemployment rate remains low, and the labor market is at or near maximum employment. Inflation has come down a great deal, but has been running somewhat above our 2% longer run objective. In support of our goals, today the Federal Open Market Committee decided to leave our policy interest rate unchanged. We believe that the current stance of monetary policy leaves us well positioned to respond in a timely way to potential economic developments.
The central bank's latest action again ignored Trump's call for immediate rate cuts after Trump called Powell stupid and said that the policy rate should be slashed in half. Powell said that the Fed is watching the conflict like everybody else and that while it's possible energy prices could rise, such prices spikes generally fade and don't have lasting effects on inflation. As Trump is still contemplating an aggressive set of import duties that could go into effect early next month, Powell insisted with producers, manufacturers and retailers still involved in a complicated struggle over who will pay the levies imposed so far. The Fed cut rates 3 times last year, with the last move coming in December. Talking of the global markets, major Wall Street indices ended a choppy trading session while little changed after Powell's announcement. The S&P 500 ended nearly flat. The Dow Jones Industrial Average ended 0.1% lower on the day, and also the Nasdaq Composite rose 0.13%. Stocks were solidly higher before the Fed's statement. Concerns the United States will join the Israel-Iran conflict had boosted demand for safe haven U.S. debt and helped send yields lower earlier on Wednesday. Brent crude futures settled 25 cents higher at $76.7 a barrel. U.S. West Texas Intermediate crude rose 30 cents to $75.14. Markets are closed on Thursday for the federal Juneteenth holiday. And from here, we turn focus to sports. England have named their team for the first test of the 5-match series against India. England retained Ollie Pope instead of Jacob Bettel, while Chris Wokes and Bryden Cars returned to the team for the match in Leeds. Meanwhile, all-rounder Wokes returns to the team for the first time since December. Bryden Cars, who has played 5 tests for England, will get the opportunity to impress on home turf for the first time. Other notable names in the squad include top-order batsmen Zach Crawley, Ben Duckett and Joe Root. Ben Stokes-led England will face India in the first test on Friday. Yoga is about plugging into an uninterrupted source of power. India's Ministry of Ayush aims to integrate yoga into daily governance and office routines. Thus, it has urged yoga leaders to organize Yoga Sangam on 21st of June and make sure the event is part of the global celebration by registering it on the yoga portal. As we told you, yoga, one of India's most profound gifts to the world, has seen a remarkable global rise. From the streets of Amsterdam to studios in Tokyo, it continues to inspire millions. Our correspondent Mark Limburg brings us this report from the Netherlands.
Once a sacred practice rooted in Indian tradition, yoga has now become a global phenomenon. From parks in Amsterdam to rooftops in New York, people everywhere and from all walks of life are discovering its power. Once practiced mainly by spiritual seekers and traditional healers in India, yoga has evolved over centuries, crossing borders, cultures and continents. Today, it's embraced by millions around the world, not only just as exercise, but as a way of life. Here at the India House in The Hague, we asked the Indian ambassador Kumar Tuhin how he sees the role of yoga in strengthening the cultural ties between India and the Netherlands.
Yoga serves as a profound cultural bridge, and it furthers understanding and appreciation between two countries. Even though it originated in India many thousands of years ago, but it really belongs to the humanity, and it conveys the message of harmony and peace.
But beyond the global trend, what does yoga actually mean to those who teach it? We asked Dr. Prashant, a yoga instructor based in the capital of the Netherlands, Amsterdam.
Where I grew up, it was natural to practice yoga or have a yoga school. Yoga for me is attaining a greater soul consciousness and living in that consciousness in the physical world. So if I drink water, being aware of me, the soul, while the body is being fed with water or food. So that is a constant attempt to remember and remind myself that, hey, I am the soul occupying this body. Yoga has been really something that was part of India. In the West, yoga became more popular, and then I would definitely also give credit to Prime Minister Modi, who popularized the yoga tradition through the International Yoga Day.
As yoga continues to unite people across cultures and continents, here is a message from the Netherlands for those celebrating this International Yoga Day.
Sarve bhavantu sukhina, sarve santu niramaya, sarve bhadrani pashyantu, ma kaschid dukh bhag bhavet.
सभी जनों को नमस्कार. Namaste.
Mark Limburg reporting for DD India from the Netherlands.
In Indonesia, an actor once known for movie and film roles has established himself as a yogi and is making his mark teaching yoga and spirituality. The actor, Anjasmara, shares his journey and experiences of yoga practice with DD India.
This is not a new fitness trend. It's an ancient practice from India that's now become a daily ritual for many Indonesians. Yoga was once a foreign concept here, but it's now a familiar word in the wellness scene. But it wasn't always this way.
So we have to find the struggle to explain them about yoga, what is the yoga, because many people they think that yoga is about the spirituality, Hinduism spirituality, but actually it is not. It's about both. It's for the health practice, it's for the, depends if one to take as a spiritual kind. But we introduced yoga as a health purpose.
So what helped turn the tide? Events like the Namaste Festival and International Day of Yoga, introduced by India's Prime Minister, brought awareness and recognition. The United Nations also thought it was important to globally promote this wellness practice.
Every country's, all the embassies are conducting the program, events of yoga, and then from there, I think yoga has become more popular, more famous, and people are more conscious about the yoga. They're more curious to know and want to do yoga practice.
And for some, it's more than just physical exercise. It has become a lifeline. The benefits go far beyond flexibility.
During the course of 3 years, I feel like my body, I just feel much better. My body is more flexible, and you are surprised. Even the stiffest muscles can also be stretched over the time. But I believe yoga also helps to relieve stress and tensions. So in yoga, we believe that you have to breathe mindfully. So it actually is a powerful tool to relieve tensions and stress and anxiety.
Yoga studios are growing in Indonesia, with more people turning to it for better health, flexibility, and stress relief. Over here, International Day of Yoga is marked with events and group sessions across the country, showing how far the practice has spread. This is Chandni Vasandani in Jakarta.
Yoga has transcended time and borders to become a beacon of wellness and unity. Let's trace yoga's extraordinary journey from its spiritual roots to its global celebration with this report by DD India's Antara Sinha.
As the sun rises over the mountains, millions begin their day with yoga. The practice, rooted in India over 5,000 years ago, began as a spiritual discipline uniting the mind, body, and soul. Ancient texts like the Yoga Sutras of Patanjali laid its foundation, emphasizing meditation and physical postures. In the late 19th and early 20th centuries, pioneers like Swami Vivekananda introduced yoga to the West, captivating audiences with its philosophy of balance and inner peace. Fast forward to the 21st century, yoga has exploded globally, fueled by its adaptability. From hatha to vinyas, yoga's physical benefits like stress relief and improved flexibility have drawn millions. By 2025, over 300 million people worldwide practice yoga, with studios in every major city. Social media and celebrity endorsements have amplified its appeal, while scientific studies have validated its benefits for mental health and physical fitness. In 2024, India proposed the International Day of Yoga, which was unanimously adopted by the United Nations. Since then, millions gather annually on June 21st from New York to Nairobi celebrating yoga's unifying power. Events like mass yoga sessions and virtual classes highlight its role in promoting wellness and peace in a fast-paced world. This ancient practice, born in India, has stretched its way into hearts and homes across the globe. From serene studios to bustling city parks, yoga's popularity continues to soar.
For centuries, yoga has been a cherished practice, harmonizing mind, body and soul. It is a powerful path to physical health and inner calm. It has been adopted by millions across the globe. The International Day of Yoga is a timeless tradition which celebrates yoga. So let's join in and join this tradition and this celebration of yoga. With camera person Monty from Delhi, this is Antra Sinha reporting for DD India.
All right, that's it in this edition of DD India News Hour. But let us know your thoughts on the news of the day. For those of you on the go, you can get all the latest news and updates from India and across the world on the DD India mobile app. This app is available on both Android and iOS platforms, and you can download the respective QR codes. We'll be back with more news as it breaks here on DD India. I'm Preeti Kaur signing off, and from all of us in Delhi, thanks for watching DD India News Hour.